But first, one man's appointment with destiny. I want to tell you a story about a man who went diving one night in the warm waters of the Indian Ocean off the island of Mauritius. His name was Ian McCormack. He'd only been in the water for a short time when he received 5 deadly bites from a box jellyfish. The bites of the box jellyfish are almost invariably fatal. Ian managed to crawl up onto the beach, and then an amazing series of events unfolded. This man was an atheist whose views on whether there is a spiritual side to life were about to change. Ian McCormack told me his story a few years ago. He told me how his diving buddies, panicked and afraid, left Ian nearly paralysed on the beach while they went for help. The poison from the jellyfish stings was rapidly taking effect.
My right leg was gone. It felt like I just wanted to go to sleep. And as I was kind of drifting off into that kind of a sleepy stage, my eyes just starting to close. I heard this voice say, "If you close your eyes, son, you'll never awake again." And I was actually slipping into a coma. And if I closed my eyes, that's it, I'd have been gone. So it was a short, just a jolt. When I heard that voice, it caused me to realise that if I didn't kind of pull myself together and fight this tiredness, I'd be in a coma and die right there on the spot.
Ian hauled himself up to the roadside and begged a taxi driver to take him to hospital.
"Please help me. I need a taxi."
"I'm not an ambulance, mister."
Reluctantly, the driver agreed.
Please.
But a few moments into the journey, the driver, apparently believing he wasn't going to get paid, told the dying man to get out of his cab.
The poison now gone into both legs. I was numb in my entire lower trunk. He stopped there, pushed me onto the ground and took off. I couldn't believe another human being could possibly do that. And yet he left me for dead because I had no money. That was the bottom line.
Eventually an ambulance came, but by this time Ian McCormack had deteriorated severely.
I was basically totally paralysed, and as we're racing up in the ambulance with my eyes wide open, just fighting to keep alive, I started to see like a small kid with blonde hair come before me like in a video clip. I'm going, what on earth's this stuff? And as I'm watching it, I'm realising that this kid is myself. It's my own life flashing before me. I thought, oh, I've heard about this stuff. That was before your car, you know what I mean? I'm going, nah, my life's flashing before me. I'm not going to make it. And I thought, well, if I don't make it, where will I end up? Is there life after death? Or is this, you know what I mean? Or is there nothing? You know, I was an atheist. So I believe that when you snuff it, there's nothing there.
So you were starting to panic pretty desperately at this stage?
Well, yeah, it certainly is it's certainly like a wake-up call, like, okay, if this stuff's real, maybe there is. And I'm lying there going, well, I wouldn't know if there is life after death or not. I think I'll just take my chances. So I'm lying there, and I had a pretty good idea what I might end up if there was. And as I'm lying there, I start to see appear just in front of my face my mother. She's saying, son, no matter what you've done in your life, no matter how far from God you may be, if you call out to God from your heart, God will hear you and God will forgive you.
At the Mauritius hospital, a team worked desperately to try to save Ian McCormack's life.
And I can feel myself almost beginning to leave my body. It was a bizarre sensation. I felt like it was about a foot above me, watching what's going on, but I'm alive. And I watched as they put 3 syringes in, and I was going further and further away. My veins had collapsed, and they tried to manually massage it up into my forehand and up to my forearm, because my vein had gone up like a bubble. And so as I'm watching all this taking place, the nurse is shaking her head, and the doctor looks at me and said, son, I'm afraid that's all we can do for you. I remember closing my eyes thinking, okay, I'll rest for a few moments, gather some strength, and then have another shot at it. But as I closed my eyes, a bizarre sensation, I found an amazing release, like the battle to stay alive had finished. I had no understanding at that time until talking to the doctors later, but at that precise moment, when my eyes closed and they came over and found my eyes closed and took my pulse, they pronounced me dead. Basically, life as they knew it had ceased, and I was now a corpse.
Ian continued his story based on later accounts of what he was told by hospital staff. Signs of life had completely gone. Things were about to get very strange indeed.
The doctors had walked away from me when I closed my eyes. To me, it was asleep, but asleep like nothing ever before. It was something had broken free. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something had dramatically changed. I then found myself wide awake. And instead of lying down, I sensed that I was upright. But the bizarre thing was there were no lights or doctors or anything around. It was pitch black. You know, I mean, I've been to some pretty heavy places in my time, but I mean, this really was terrifying. As I moved back from this sensation, I then heard a voice screaming me to the right. The voice said, "Shut up!" I went, "Shut up?" I said, "Nothing. What's going on?" Another voice to my left, "You deserve to be here." "I deserve to be where? Where am I?" Another voice, "You're in hell. Now shut up." You know what I mean? Hell? My concept of hell, if there was one, party time, you know what I mean? So, no party going on down here. This was just total darkness. As I stood there, I thought, well, perhaps I am. You know what I mean? Perhaps that's where I deserve. But I'm thinking, well, but I thought I'd try to pray, you know, in the ambulance. I'm just trying to unravel this. As I'm standing there, a radiant beam of pure white light seems to just start piercing through the darkness above me. As it touches my face, it seems to envelop my entire being, and I feel myself lift off the ground and get translated up into this amazing beam of white light.
Ian's story at this point is remarkably similar to many other accounts of life beyond death.
It was like the centre of the universe. I thought, that's incredible. What on earth is this light? As I'm standing there, you know what I mean, wondering what on earth's going on, I hear a voice speak from the centre of the radiance. And it said, "Ian, do you wish to return?" I'm thinking, Ian, I mean, there's a person in there. There's actually someone in there. And I'm thinking, well, return where? Where on earth am I? As I look back over my shoulder, I could see the tunnel dissipating back into the darkness. And I thought, return? Am I out of my body? Is this reality?
The memory of the brilliance, the power emanating from the figure in front of him is still incredibly graphic to Ian McCormack. Like so many others who say they've been on this journey, it seemed way too real to be a dream.
I said, God, I wish to return to tell my mother that what she believes in is real. I do not know how I came here, but I wish to go back. He said, Ian, if you wish to return, you must see things in a new light. As I look back, now next to my mum was my dad, I love, my brother, my sister, I love, and thousands of other people. And as I saw them, there's so many going back behind them, I thought, God, why are you showing me all these people? I don't know them. You know, I know my family, but who are these others? He spoke this, he said, Ian, if you do not return, many of these people will most likely not step foot inside a church any longer to hear my name. And I said, well, that's true, well, neither would I. But I said, God, I don't know them, I don't love them. I love my mother, I wish to return for her. He said, son, I love these people, and I desire all of them to come to know me. Instantly, I was back in my physical form, with my head tilting and my right eye open. As I opened my right eye, I could see I had a doctor with my right foot in his hand, elevating my leg with a scalpel, prodding or a sharp instrument or knife or something, prodding and pricking the base of my foot like a dead piece of meat. Totally oblivious that I was now alive, right eye open, looking at him. As we lock onto each other, his face goes as white as a sheet, his whole body shakes. He goes, ah! Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just seen a dead corpse. Look at him. From what I can ascertain from the hospital, they had lost me for approximately 15 minutes. And the next day, I discharged myself from the hospital and walked out. I mean, I had almost nurses and doctors just collapsing because there's no way. You know what I mean? One, that I should be back, and two, that I should be walking. And as I walked back into the fishing village, they thought I was a ghost come back from the dead and ran in fear. Within the ensuing weeks and months, you know what I mean, I began praying and saying, God, what's happened? He said, son, you are a reborn Christian.
The accounts recorded and dramatised over the years of life after death share a wide range of similarities. Feelings of leaving the body, a sense sometimes of being detached, and watching one's own deathbed occur in many accounts. And then there are the lights, the glimpses of loved ones, life's events flashing before the eyes. So, what to make of the events in the Mauritius hospital that night? One thing's for sure, It certainly got the attention of a man who previously never gave God a second thought.
If that was just a hallucination or a vision or revelation, well, it could have been. You know what I mean? Doctors can be wrong. I could be wrong. From what I understand, I was 5 times dead with 5 times the lethal toxin to kill a man, the box jellyfish being one of the most deadliest creatures on the planet. So if that was just a dream or hallucination, it's radically transformed my life, and I can't wait for the real thing. I mean, really. I mean, if there's more to come after that, I can't wait. But it has totally, radically transformed my life, and I've been following Jesus as my personal Lord and Saviour for the past 14 years since 1982.
So